Good morning, everyone. In this lecture, we're going to discuss Chapter 6, Part 1, Epistemology. So please read pages 275, 276 for Part 1 of this lecture. Epistemology is the study of knowledge and beliefs. And to begin, let's start with an example. Let's say you tell me you believe the sun's gonna rise tomorrow morning. The sun will rise tomorrow morning. I ask you, why do you believe the sun will rise tomorrow morning? And you say, well, because every day the sun has always risen. Therefore, I have to assume the sun's gonna rise tomorrow morning. Fair? Then I ask you then, well, how do you know in the distant future, 10 years from now, 25 years from now, the sun's going to rise? You say, well, I believe so because we have science. Science tells us there's something called gravity that keeps the sun rising every day. Fair? And I say, well, why do you believe in science? We know scientists make mistakes. In the past, scientists and philosophers believed the earth was flat. Until today, some believe the earth is flat. In the past, scientists and philosophers believed the earth was the center of the universe. Then why do you believe so much in science? And you answer and say, well, the scientists have done countless testing experimentations to prove gravity is real. And they use mathematics, and we know math is universal, math is true everywhere. And based on math, and because they understand the laws of physics, we understand gravity was the same it was 10 billion years ago. So therefore, in the future, we believe gravity will be the same, and therefore the sun will keep on rising. Fair? And I tell you, well, how do you know that? You haven't been alive for 10 billion years, and you're not going to be alive 10 billion years in the future. How do you know gravity will be the same? In fact, science tells us we are living in a universe that has evolved. The universe keeps evolving. Then how do you know gravity has not evolved? How do you know the laws of nature won't evolve in the future? How do you know this exactly? Then at this point, you may simply say, you don't know. This is why we study epistemology. Again, it is the study of knowledge and beliefs. How do we know the things we know? What is the difference between believing something and knowing something? What do we know with absolute certainty? How do we know our minds can understand the world? How do you know if something is true? Who determines, who says, what says if something is true? If scientists and philosophers, if the so-called smart people can have false beliefs, this means all of us today we have false beliefs. Sometimes somebody else is going to show to you your false ones. Or sometimes it's in the future, 5 years from now, you look back at your life and say, oh, I used to believe those things, but they're not really true. So epistemology then invites us to question the things we believe in. Take the most serious beliefs you have. How do you know they're true? If you question them, you'll see your beliefs are based on other beliefs. Other beliefs. And if you push it, you'll see at the bottom, underneath, your beliefs are often based on assumptions, other beliefs, And at the bottom, there's one final belief that you simply embrace it out of faith. You can't justify it. What is knowledge? Knowledge is defined as true justified belief. True justified belief. Let me unpack this. First, this means for you to know something, you have to believe the thing. For you to know something, you have to believe it. You can't say, I know this to be true, but I don't believe it. But you may believe something they think is false. If you believe the earth is flat, you don't know the earth is flat. You believe it because it is false. If you believe the stars are cold, in fact, you could believe anything. You could believe that you fly. You can fly. You could believe you're God. You can believe you are the next president. But you could believe anything, because beliefs can be true or false. But for you to know something, the thing must be true. For you to know anything, the thing in question must be true. In other words, you cannot know something that is false. You can only believe it. For example, I can believe I am a flower on planet Mars. But since it is false, I am not. See, I can believe I'm a flower, but since I'm not a flower, I do not know I'm a flower. See? I can believe 2 plus 5 is 55. 2 plus 5 is 55. I can believe 1 plus 1 is 5. But since those things are false, I cannot know them, because you can only know what is true. So again, you can believe false things. You could believe pretty much anything. But to know something, the thing in question must be true. You cannot know something that is false. Let's expand this a bit further. Notice this means something false cannot exist. False things cannot exist, because for something to exist, the thing in question must be true. That is, you could believe false ideas, concepts. You can imagine false things in your mind, unicorns, for example. But in actuality, there cannot be any false things. False things can only exist in mind as ideas one imagine as beliefs, but there cannot be any false things. If this is true, that things can't exist unless they're true, this means what is true is prior to what exists. Truth precedes existence. Truth precedes the world. Truth precedes me, you, the flowers, the bees, the rivers, the moon, the stars, the sun, and so forth. Not sure if you understand this. This means for me to exist, truth has to exist first. The lawyers will lie, the politicians will lie. For them to exist, truth must exist first. This means you and I, the whole existence, a smile, mud, dirt, flowers, rivers, birds, everything is a manifestation of what is true. What is true is prior to what is real. So one way to think about this, you could think about it like space. For objects to be, for an object to exist, the object must exist in space. This table is in space. This building is in space. The school is in space. All objects exist in space. But notice there's space within objects as well. because atoms that make up all objects, all things, they have space inside of them. There's a distance between the electrons and protons and neutrons. See? So space exists before objects. Space is prior to all objects. But space is within objects too. Strange. Likewise, what is true precedes what exists, what is real. But what is true is also in the world, just like space. So this raises a question then, what is the truth? There are things we call true. A triangle has three sides, 2 plus 3 is 5. Christopher Columbus came here in 1492. So these are true claims. But what is the truth itself? This question can't be answered. It can only be experienced, because the only reason why you cannot know what is, well, you can know what is true, but you cannot know the truth itself, is because you have a sense of self. You have a mind. Strange. You have a mind. The sense of self means this. You look at a person, you look at a flower, you look at the blue sky, and you see those things are not you. I am not the flower is not me. The blue sky is not me, I am not the blue sky. So you have a sense that you exist separately from things. A sense of separation. So if you want to know the truth, not what is true, but if you want to know what the truth itself is, you would need to have a no self experience. A no self experience. That is, an experience in which your sense of self disappears. The fact that you feel you exist separately from everything else, this sense of separation must disappear. If you have that experience, then you can know what truth is. Now, it's impossible to describe this experience. It can be done. Music can create it. Meditation can create it. Certain drugs, psychedelics like DMT and magic mushrooms, they can create that experience. But again, what you need to get from this so far is that if knowledge means true, justify belief, then knowledge is not the same as truth. We have knowledge of the truth, but the truth itself is different. This means truth is prior to what is, because something can't exist unless it is true. This also means reality doesn't have an opposites. Reality doesn't have opposites. Within reality, we experience duality. We experience two things: sleeping, wakefulness, hot and cold, left and right, good and evil, front and back. So those things, we experience them within the world itself. But existence doesn't have an opposite. If existence has an opposite, it would be non-existence. If reality had an opposite, it would be unreality. But since non-existence is false, it can't exist. It is a contradiction. Since unreality is false, it can't exist. It is a contradiction. To say non-existence exists and reality exists, it is nonsense. It is as if I am saying I'm a flower on Mars. It is as if I'm saying 2 plus 3 is 55. But since all those things are false, say they can't exist. So therefore, reality has no opposites. Again, remember I say false things can exist in the mind as ideas, as beliefs, as concepts. You can imagine false things. But reality itself, actual reality, everything in it is true. Truth precedes reality. What is truth again? That's a big question, but we can't answer it in this video. Now, if you wanted another reason as to why it is wrong to lie, I'll just give you a different reason. If truth precedes existence, what is true is prior to what is real, then when we lie, we're not simply insulting the intelligence of somebody else. When we lie, we're not simply causing pain to someone else. When we lie, we are in conflict with reality. When we lie, we are in conflict with existence. When we lie, we are in conflict with the source, the cause of our own existence. If I exist because of truth, if you exist because of truth, then when I lie to you, when you lie to me, we are in conflict. We are not aligned with the very cause of our own existence. You see? So this means if you speak the truth, reality is on your side. If you always speak the truth, always say what is true, then reality is on your side all the time. Okay? And one more thing. Beliefs are simply ideas we think are true or false. And one strange thing about beliefs is that beliefs are not reality. They're part of reality, but they are not. We base beliefs on the basis of experience, but beliefs themselves are not experience. For example, if I tell you the sunset is beautiful and you don't believe me, we can go outside and look at the sunset. This is an experience. An experience is when one of the senses gets involved. If you see something, you smell something, you taste something, you kiss something, you touch something, you hear something, this is an experience. But if the senses was not evolved, the senses were not involved, that's a belief. For example, Christopher Columbus came here in 1492, that's a belief. Again, I can say, let's go outside and see the sunset, but I cannot say, let's go outside and see Christopher Columbus, you see. So, experience involves the senses, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching. But beliefs sometimes are based on other beliefs, are ultimately on experience. Then quickly you see, if you analyze most of the beliefs you have, they're not based on experience. Scientists tell us, for example, the sun is 93 million miles away from the earth. The sun is 93 million miles. How do you know if this is true? You can believe it. But notice, can you go in your lab and do an experiment that confirms that? If you can't do that, then you see that is just a belief that you have. So, again, experience involves the senses. This means then most of the things we believe in, they're not based on experience. You believe in Jesus? Have you ever seen Jesus? You see, that's a belief, because you can't see Jesus and smell and taste and kiss and touch Jesus. This means you don't have an experience of Jesus physically. Or maybe mentally, spiritually, you could have an experience. But it is still true, most of the beliefs we have, they're based on other beliefs, not experience itself. And number two, the reason why we have one reason why we have false beliefs is that when we believe something, it feels true. Whatever we believe in, it feels true. And if it feels true, it's really hard to see the belief in question is not true. Right? Number three, beliefs create emotions, strong emotions. If I'm a Christian, you give me a picture of Jesus, and you tell me to just throw the picture on the ground and step on the picture. Step on the picture. Will I do it? No. If I'm Muslim or Jewish, you give me a piece of bacon and ask me to eat that, will I do it? No, I would probably get mad at you. You see, mad with you. Now, this also means beliefs create freedom. Also, beliefs take freedom away from us. Imagine if you had no beliefs at all, none. You didn't believe in anything, and God and science and morality and ethics and politics. You see how free you would be? You would be absolutely free to do anything. Imagine a human being with no beliefs. This is complete freedom, but this would be dangerous, too dangerous, because you could kill somebody, somebody could kill you. Imagine if everybody's walking around, we have no beliefs at all. Complete freedom, but too dangerous. This means you wouldn't be able to survive too long in the world. So beliefs then, to some extent, they're good because without beliefs we can't survive. But beliefs are not experience. Beliefs are not reality. Reality is what we experience through the senses. But beliefs sometimes are based on other beliefs, but if you push them, sometimes they may be based on some experiences that somebody in the past had. So to summarize, epistemology is the study of beliefs and knowledge. How do we know the things that we know? Number two, knowledge means true justified belief. If you know something, you believe it, the thing is true. And justify means you can give an explanation as to what makes it true. You can explain what makes it true. Nice. And if this is true, the conclusion is that also what is true is prior to what is real. It's because something can't exist if it is not true. And this also means false things don't exist. You can have false ideas, beliefs. You can imagine false things in your mind. But in actual reality, there are no false things. And this also means reality doesn't have an opposite. The opposite of reality would be unreality. The opposite of existence would be non-existence. But since non-existence and reality, those things are false. Therefore, they can't exist. Therefore, they can only be reality. And I also say this is one reason why lying is wrong, because when we lie to people, we are in conflict with reality. If you speak the truth all the time, then you have reality on your side all the time. Thank you for watching.